I'm Matt, and I was going to go ahead and talk about a subject I don't think really gets talked about, but still has a huge impact on your work, I think. And that's how to deal with people being mean to you on the internet about your work. Because I think that can have a huge impact on, how well you're motivated and everything, and it just happens all the time. So, and I'm talking specifically people just I'm mainly talking about people criticizing your work in a mean way. I'm not talking about just like negative feedback and criticism in general. That can be helpful. But yeah, so one of the reasons why it can hurt so much is, the games we're making or the art we're making or whatever we're making. A lot of times we put so much of ourselves into it. So it's a part of us and it's a part of our identity, especially if we've spent months or a year making this one thing. And if people say like hateful things about it, it's really easy to take that as an insult to yourself. And also it's really easy to just get in your head and just let it bug you all day, and like sometimes you just can't stop thinking about like a particular thing that someone said, even if all kinds of people said great things about you. Like those kinds of things are easy to ignore. And also it can just be really demotivating. Like if you spend all this work creating something and this is the reaction you're getting from it, then it's like kind of takes the wind out of your sails, and it's like, why should I continue on this if I'm gonna get this kind of feedback? So like here's an example of something that that me and Amanda received on a work that we did. So the only good part about this is that if you click outside the window and back in, it just turns to a black screen immediately, so that I know I can close it and forget about this pretentious piece of trash. So it's not really, I can't really consider this like real feedback because they're not really being specific enough. I'm going to categorize this as just mean. Because so, and also this was something that when we made, the premise came from like experiences and memories we've had losing loved ones. That's what the game was about. So it was really hard for it not to hurt our feelings, at least for me. And so we need to kind of separate things out and kind of we have to understand that when people say these things, they don't always realize that they're talking to a person. It just doesn't occur to them because I kind of equate it to like road rage. Like they're kind of sending insults to their computer screen. They're not imagining a person on the other side reading this. They're not imagining a human being. So we can't necessarily, I don't like blaming them because of that. So, and like I said before, you can't let it get to you when you're getting actual feedback and support from others. Like so many people just ignore it and don't focus on that at all. And also just hate is just part of the internet. Like it just exists in general, no matter what. An example I have here is, I'll just play it.
Looks like something you used to suck on years ago.
Yeah, you should probably read it.
Actually, no. Right.
Yeah.
In 10 weeks.
So that's a video of a man being overcome with joy because he just found out in 10 weeks he's going to be a grandpa. That video was disliked by over 1,000 people. And so there's 1,000 people out there, or 1,200 really, that just thought this is a terrible thing. I hate this. And not just, like, it's not just they just didn't give it a like. They actively click the dislike button. So you can't really take some of this seriously because no matter what, no matter how perfect what you do is, this is just going to exist and you can't take it personally. So I kind of already talked about that. Also, whether you should respond to hate, I usually don't recommend it at all. There's not really anything to be gained most of the time. And sometimes attention is exactly what they want. They want a response. But if you think you really need to respond, kind of my rule of thumb is to don't do it while you're angry. So you could say things you could regret. Also, don't just insult them. That just validates them. That just convinced them that insulting you was the right thing to do. That's how we interact with each other. We're just going to insult each other. And also just be clear and concise with your words. Just try, I mean, I know it's impossible, but try not to leave any room for people to misinterpret what you say. And also, I forgot to put in a disclaimer, like, I don't want to pretend like I have all the answers to this. This is such like a complex subject. This is just kind of what I've gathered and how I feel about the subject. People might have a completely different opinion. And also, just to make sure you're not doing the same thing, that you're not dishing out hate, or even if it's unintentional, make sure when you write something that could be construed as such that you read it out loud to yourself. That's usually what I try to do if I'm on a touchy subject. Also, imagine saying it to their face and see if you would be willing to do the same thing. Like, would you be willing to say this person if they were say this to this person if they were in the same room as you? Be very clear and concise with criticism that you're giving. And just also understand what you're criticizing before you give like real criticism. I know like some of Amanda's colleagues will they've gotten a ton of hate for articles they've written by people who only read the headline. They didn't actually know what the article was saying and didn't understand it at all, but they'll get on a bandwagon and threaten these writers and everything, and it's really sad that happens. Also, when criticizing something, I like to try to consider whether I'm in the target demographic or not. Like, I don't, it'd be weird if I said, Barbies are terrible, I spent 3 hours playing with one, and I didn't have fun at all. It's like, well, I mean, they weren't really made for me. Of course I didn't have fun, but yeah. But that's about it. That's my take on internet meanness, anyway.